Folks, I don't know how else to say this, but running John Cornyn in Texas is not going to get Republicans a win. That seat is going to go to the Democrat, plain and simple. That's what this is about. And conventional thinking, is just plain wrong. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Friends, welcome to the program. As always, this hour is brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. If you're in an accident, don't go at it on your own. It's not a DIY project. Get professional help today and offload the problem. Have it taken care of. 800-304-2000, because you deserve what's right. I have heard so much over the past 24 hours, so much about how Cornyn's got to win this. Republicans have a hope and have a prayer of saving themselves in Texas. And I got to tell you, number one, with Republicans like Cornyn, who needs Republicans? I get it, right? I understand that a Senate Democrat majority is worse than what we've got right now. All right, I'm able to see that, folks. So don't send me that email. I get it. But in the same token, right, when you have an opportunity in election to level up and get someone more conservative, get someone who has some chops of fighting for, fighting the establishment. So, one thing people don't realize, the reason that Paxton is so despised is that he took on the entire Republican establishment in Texas. And, when you're not from Texas, you tend to believe that Texas is this deep red state. And it is, in spite of, blue carve-outs in places like Austin. But what you get, by the way, Utah, it's happening there too. You've been following this, of course. Utah Governor Cox is his name. C-O-X, I have to make that clear. Cox, an absolute lib. He's a DEI guy. He's an open borders guy. He's got pronouns in his bio. And then you have John Curtis, the junior senator from Utah, also a complete left-wing guy. And these types of Republicans come from deep red states where the expectation is that you're a Republican. And then there's the question of how much of a Republican are you? And people in this in this environment where they don't have to, this is my analysis of it, at least. In these environments where they're not competing against a dominant opposition the way, you are when, like me, you grew up in California and you're in the minority, although maybe not as big of a minority as we think. And you're constantly fighting against absolute insane Democrats, basically communists. You tend to sort of forgive your differences with fellow Republicans. You're in it for a common fight. But in Texas, they did, well, I'm not that extreme. Well, I'm this faction, I'm that faction. And it all ends up becoming a fight for who controls power. And then it stops being about principles and it starts being about that power. Now, Paxton, brought the fight to a lot of prominent Republicans there. And fought off and survived in Trump-like fashion efforts to remove him. So yeah, the political establishment, the Republican political establishment hates him there, but people have elected him over and over again. I just think Cornyn is box office poison, so to speak. Right? He's not going to get us across the finish line in November. And the same people that told us in 2023 and 2024 that we shouldn't pick Donald Trump as our nominee because he won't. I get it, Sam. I get it. The base loves Trump, but it's time for something new. Do you know how many people that today are big, big supporters of Trump felt this way? And I'm, by the way, I'm palms up about this. I always will be honest with you folks. I felt that way too for a minute until they raided Mar-a-Lago. That moment for me, that was my red line. Okay, you guys remember this, right? I mean, that was my red line. I lost my shit after Biden did that. That was, for me at that point, Trump and then some. But no, my point is that there's a lot of conventional thinking out there that Trump couldn't get us across the finish line. Now, for me, I thought his administration became a disorganized mess in the second 2 years. A lot of that now I've certainly forgiven, understanding that he had quite a headwind to contend with, and also seeing the kind of administration that he's put together now. By and large, absolute killers. And it takes me back to these primaries, and I'm not going to, Massey, by the way, as much as I have disagreements with Massey, I don't put him in the same boat as a guy like Cornyn, Thune, Tillis, and the like. By the way, Tillis is retiring from North Carolina, Tom Tillis, because he is he knows he's not going to get reelected. Like, they just fundamentally understand it. They know that the political zeitgeist has left them, and on their way out the door, they are doing their darndest to sabotage Trump, to sabotage the agenda, and frankly, to sabotage the country. It makes me so mad. So just letting you know, this is just complete nonsense. Now, some interesting developments that are outside of call it the mainstream cycle here with everything that's happened in the Iran war. That I think are very important. In fact, might be the most critical events behind the scenes. Did you know, for example, the one Islamic country that has a nuclear weapon is Pakistan? And Pakistan, just actually their foreign minister sent a notice to Tehran, to the Iranian regime there, the Islamists in Tehran, on their last gasp, telling them, reminding them that Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have a mutual defense pact. Now, what's a mutual defense pact? It basically means, hey, you attack our friend over here, it's like an attack on us, and we will retaliate on behalf of our friend. Now, this is huge because this is coming from the one country in the Islamic country in the Middle East, Israel's the other one, that has nuclear weapons. And this pact was signed late last year in September of 2025. So this is not some, dusty old piece of paper that was been laying around. Huge development. I'm telling you, I've made this clear. There's a tremendous amount of regional alignment against Iran. And if you listen to the America First podcasters out there that just tell you, oh, Trump is just, being led on a leash by Benjamin Netanyahu, I'm sorry. When Israel and Pakistan seem to be on the same side of an issue, you ought to pay attention to that. And chasing anti-Semitic tropes is probably not the right place to be. So that's an interesting development. Then we have some news out of Lebanon. The president there made a decision to ban Hezbollah's military activity. Now, you're probably thinking about this. Well, what the hell? Like, Hezbollah is a radical group, terrorist group. They've been acting sort of quasi-officially within the country of Lebanon. Lebanon has been, frankly, a host organism for this terrorist group. The chief funder of Hezbollah, of course, is Iran. Now, two things have happened, right? Of course, here in the last couple of years, Hezbollah has been significantly degraded by Israel following October 7. And, and so that's one thing. Now, this latest attack happened on Saturday, right? Saturday morning is when the first bombs dropped on Tehran. The Ayatollah immediately dispatched to the bowels of hell. And we know, right, that Hezbollah within, what was left of it started lobbing some rockets, and Israel responded to it. Now, I'm not saying people have different opinions about this, but I'm not saying that Lebanon, the government there, openly supports Hezbollah, but they fear it. And a lot of the politicians in Lebanon over the years have either tolerated Hezbollah or have secretly kind of been fans of it, right? And what do they fear in Lebanon? They fear that if they go too strongly against Hezbollah, they end up dead, right? Sort of like in Mexico, you don't fight the cartels if you're the president because you and your family are going to meet a gruesome end. And the other thing that they fear is this giant destabilizing force called Iran. And this development, folks, suggests that the perceived power that Iran has is vastly, it's evaporating in front of our eyes. Not a single boot on the ground, American troops not committed, flying overhead, casualties, yes, but in the grand scheme of things, fairly minimal. And God willing, it continues this way, and our troops stay out of harm's way. But the objectives are being met, and this is a crucial key indicator of it. Again, this is something Tucker Carlson's not going to mention because he's too busy talking about the Jews. So, interesting stuff. There's also some reports that the CIA is arming Kurdish forces. Iranian Kurdish forces obviously opposed. And Iranians are very nervous about this. This would be a slight, concern. So, but on balance, important news. Now, we are 36 weeks away from the midterms, and I mentioned yesterday that there is an almost 80% to 20% support for this conflict so long as it lasts days and or weeks. And support precipitously drops if the conflict drags into months. And then overwhelming negative reaction when you say, well, what if this lasts years? Now, yesterday I mentioned that this is a protest against nation building. And that is not what Trump wants to do. And I almost feel like I don't know if this. Well, we'll see what happens with arming these other groups, but the point is Trump actually wants, and in every answer that he's given about a transitional government, wants a strong Iranian government. He just wants a government that's going to play ball. He wants a government that's going to work with the United States, that's going to work toward peace in the region. He wants a government that will be a responsible player and actor on the world stage. That's all it is. So it's outcome specific, but sort of ideologically, it's agnostic. So there it is. Friends, I have to tell you this, we got to think about, again, everything that's happening in context of the Western Hemisphere. We'll figure out, the politicians will call the Trump doctrine something, they'll have a neat little tagline for it. But America First is a huge component of it. And that's one of the things that bothers me, rankles me about the way this operation in Iran is being described. Is it's a departure. It's being described as a departure by some from the America First agenda. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you want to, and I mentioned this yesterday, and it bears repeating, if you want to reduce our global footprint, how do you achieve this? Because the short answer is to make countries around the world more self-sufficient. You eliminate the hostile players, starting with the ones in our own backyard, which is why Maduro was the first end of this operation. Now, Maduro also was the first person to be taken out and the first country to be set right because we needed the oil. If the goal always was to go into Iran and knowing that the oil production there would be impacted regionally, of course, because of the Strait of Hormuz, which the Iranians are desperately trying to close with all of their proxies. And I've heard there's been some developments on this. By the way, it's a fascinating solution that Trump came up with. Did you read about the insurance? Trump is in the insurance business now. But this, folks, this is so brilliant because, the reason that a place like the Strait of Hormuz or anywhere near a war region has restricted trade is not even because there's a successful blockade. I think some reports have that we've sunk 95% of the Iranian fleet. Somewhere people have said that we've sunk all the major ships. Whatever it is, right, there's still a threat. And it's not that there is a wall of ships blocking the harbor. It's that ships can't go through it. Commercial ships can't go through it because their insurance companies won't allow it. You're not going to hear this on Fox, okay? They don't get into this kind of stuff. And I'm saying this, look, it's just me, the lawyer here, talking. If you've got insurance on your car, I'll give you an example. You live in California, you live in San Diego, your insurance won't let you take your car. A lot of insurance policies won't take your car to Mexico. Why? The chances of your car getting stolen there, or worse, disappearing and never to be found again, are high. Or they're certainly higher than they are in San Diego County. Now, I'm just letting you know this, right? So these ships aren't passing through because they can't. Well, Trump came along and says, "Okay, we'll back you." This was a fascinating play. Now, who's backing what? So here's what it is: it's Navy escorts and insurance for tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. And it came on the heels of the IRGC in Iran claiming complete control over the straits. It's not actually closed, but, this is obviously what's causing the stoppages. And big companies like Maersk and Hapag-Lloyd suspended transits. Now, this left hundreds of ships, tankers, anchored and stranded in and around just outside of the strait. Caused oil prices to surge. And insurance companies, sure enough, this is what they do because they're bastards, immediately started canceling people who they suspected would still be trying to go through. Yeah, in your time of need, your insurance company is there. They're going to cancel your ass. So Trump says, no, we'll back it with two things: the U.S. Treasury and the U.S. Navy. Now, I don't know about you. I think that's a little better of a guarantee than Lloyd's of London. I'm just saying, okay? It's not Geico, all right? It's the U.S. Navy. Frankly, the entire U.S. military. This is such an out-of-the-box thinking move. Even if you're listening to the show and you're thinking, Sam, I really don't like what's going on, and I profoundly disagree with you, just imagine if Kamala Harris was president, number one. And just imagine that we'd gotten to this point with the Kamala Harris presidency and that we were in a conflict like this, either of our choosing or not, and we were prosecuting a defensive action, gosh forbid, caught on our back foot. And guess what? Imagine this. Would they ever have come up with a creative solution like this? Because it's already working. And, this is a perception game. And of course, there's a reality to it, but there's a perception game. And in order to keep commerce flowing and fuel flowing out of our allied countries in the Middle East, you got to do this. You got to protect the shipping lanes. And that's good for you and I. That is good for America. That's taxpayers money being spent well, in my humble opinion. Quick break here, bottom of the hour. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. I'll be right back.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Mirejovsky here for Sam and Ash Injury Law. Listen, folks, if you get into an accident, trust me on this, don't go at it alone, okay? Don't try to handle your case on your own. You're going to get outplayed. And really, I'll explain simply why. The insurance company knows that in the worst case scenario that happens is you say no, and that you will later have to hire a lawyer just to get what's fair. That's it. You can take it to small claims court, but that's some nominal amount, right? That doesn't cover the full extent of your damages. And even if you take them to small claims court, they can then appeal it, and you're stuck hiring a lawyer for the appeal, but you're only limited to the amount that that was there in small claims court to begin with. You have no power against them, and they know it, and they treat you accordingly. To think anything different is just plain foolish. Hire a lawyer from the get-go. Hire Sam and Ash Injury Law to help you with your case. Number one, you're done worrying about it. You can go to work, you can take care of your kids, live your life, and you're not writing letters, you're not writing emails, you're not responding to phone calls, you're not doing a bunch of stuff that ultimately is going to have a very low payoff. You turn it over to a good lawyer, you get what's fair. The trust me, and it's a big difference, okay? It's not a lottery win, but you get what's right. And that's why I say here at Sam and Ash that you deserve what's right. It's very important that you know this. Don't end up thousands of dollars in the hole and losing weeks, if not months, of your life. All right? SamandAshLaw.com. No recovery, no fee, doesn't cost you $1 up front. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Now, speaking of accidents and automobiles and the like, with everything going on with the primary in Texas and a couple of other states, by the way, I mentioned this, I think Arkansas had a primary, North Carolina as well. Nothing really big happened there or unforeseen. Texas race obviously drew some attention, but with all of this going on, plus Iran, we haven't been talking about ICE. I don't know, maybe the Democrats are kind of PO'd about this, but I have an ICE update for you. Apparently, in some of these blue cities, these ICE agents who have always used the unmarked cars to go and apprehend the criminal aliens, they don't show up in marked police units. Well, they're using Subarus. Robbie, have you seen this? They're driving the official car of the Renee Good Foundation, a.k.a. liberal left-wing lesbian women, to sneak up on their targets. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And I guess, right, I mean, they had this fiery hearing for Kristi Noem a few days ago, and it kind of disappeared in the whole news cycle, didn't it? It didn't go anywhere. Yeah, I said this yesterday that she's, look, let me quickly tell you what I think of Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem, look, I'm sure she's a lovely lady. All right, she's just out of her depth. That's what I think. And I also think I don't like spending $200,000, $250,000 on ads that are basically self-promotional for your name, brand ID and I know it's Department of Homeland Security. This is Kristi Noem. Da, da, da. I don't like when Republicans. I don't like when Democrats do it. It's just not my thing. But that said, I'm loving what the Department of Homeland Security is doing. And I don't know that Tom Homan has time to be the Secretary of Homeland Security and also to be out in the field as sort of the DHS general directing these removal actions. So that's my take on the Department of Homeland Security. And then, of course, there's the whole Corey Lewandowski thing, and the two of them, I guess, had an affair, and then now he's her like closest advisor, and he's got some quasi-governmental job. He's Trump's former ally. He's still ally, but he was a campaign manager. The whole thing to me just, I don't like it. I don't like it. And I was not a big fan of her when she was going through a confirmation hearing. She's not one of the stars, certainly, of this really otherwise tremendous administration. So just that is where I was coming from. Now, the Democrats, of course, want to spin everything that they possibly can any way they possibly can. And so they're with the Iran war, they got briefed on it the other day. And this is how and every one of the Democrats came out and put out a video, a little TikTok, a little social media post, went on to talk to the media, and every single one of them had some version of this. And I'm playing it here. This is Elizabeth Warren putting out. This is on her social channels. Listen what she says.
I just left a classified briefing on Iran, and here's what I can say. It is so much worse than you thought. You are right to be worried. Trump administration has no plan in Iran. This illegal war is based on lies, and it was launched without any imminent threat to our nation. Donald Trump still hasn't given a single clear reason for this war, and he seems to have no plan for how to end it either. Like a lot of you, I am really angry. I am angry at what Donald Trump is doing. And I feel grief for those already killed in this unnecessary conflict. And I will keep doing everything I can to fight to end this war.
Okay. Let me tell you, they all say this. I saw the briefing, and what I saw has me worried. There is no plan. Now, these people, first of all, some of them are too stupid to know a plan if it hit them in the face. Now, Elizabeth Warren isn't dumb, okay? The reason they're all saying this is because, number one, they can't divulge what was said in the briefing. So they characterize it as deeply troubling. What we saw there's troubling. I am troubled based on what I saw. And they're all reading the same script. They're all saying the same thing. You'll start to pick up on this. Every time they have one of these briefings is what they do. Now, the other thing that they'll bang on about, because of course this is tremendously successful, the reason that Elizabeth Warren is worried, trust me, Elizabeth Warren is not worried about let me say this. I was going to say she's not worried about the source. Of course she is. That's not fair. But that's not her primary concern. Okay, the primary concern that the Democrats have is that they worry that Trump is going to be very successful. They saw his poll numbers go up with the Operation Venezuela. They railed against that too. They also said that there wasn't a plan. They said that the whole thing was going to blow up. This is what they do. It didn't. It hasn't as of yet. Okay, and they're worried that this will be another success for Trump and for the Republicans, and they've got a midterm to win. Okay, so that's what this is about. And the obvious inconsistency about this argument, for example, on the war powers front, is another example, right, of how these Democrats are doing this. You go back to Libya. Go back to the Obama administration and Libya. This is fascinating because the same issue came up. Is there authorization? And so this was in 2011. And Pelosi was asked at a press conference about needing congressional approval. And this was the question and the answer.
So, Madam Speaker, Madam Leader, you're saying that the president did not need authorization initially and still does not need any authorization from Congress on Libya?
Yes.
Thank you both.
Thank you all very much.
Yep, don't need any authorization. Obama can do what he wants. Now, here is from, let's see, this was, I think, 2 days ago. Hakeem Jeffries talking about approval for action in Iran. Same question of sorts, different answer.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. Back in 2011, Nancy Pelosi said that then President Obama didn't need congressional approval to bomb Libya. Now House Democrats say President Trump needs that approval to bomb Iran. What's the difference?
Well, obviously, Libya and the circumstances connected to that were very different than the circumstance that we face in Iran right now. I mean, I don't even understand the genesis or basis of that question. Not suggesting that you're not asking it in good faith.
Libya went on for 7 months.
As I've indicated, first of all, it was not in Congress at the time. So we're dealing with what we're dealing with right now, which is a catastrophic, endless war, as Donald Trump has characterized it, without any justification that there was going to be a preeminent assault or attack on the United States of America, either in our homeland or as it relates to our interests in the Middle East.
That's what happens, when you preeminent attack, Robbie. It's a preeminent attack. Okay, he misspoke. Guy is just functionally an idiot. He is so unbelievably unqualified to be in this position. Now, I understand, right? You get elected to Congress and it's the voters that decide. But it's the Democrats in the House of Representatives, of all the people that are there to pick from to be their leader, they pick this buffoon. I wonder why. Well, I'll leave it there. Here's the truth. And I got into this a little bit here in Vegas every Tuesday morning. I talk to Alan Stock, who is my good friend and an excellent, excellent conservative radio host here in Las Vegas. We have a little weekly check-in on Tuesdays. And I brought this point up. The War Powers Act was passed by Congress. And it basically said to the president, you can't, launch anything that lasts longer than 60 days without our approval. And the fact of the matter is that no Republican or Democrat administration has ever conceded that the War Powers Act is in fact constitutional. Now, this is very important. It hasn't been tested. This is what's the, Schrodinger's cat, this whole story kind of a thing. You got the cat. This is a philosophical thing. I mean, is it a tangent, Robbie? Schrodinger's cat. It was always a morbid thing. You got a guy's got a box and there's a cat in it. He doesn't know if the cat is alive or dead. But you have to, you only know the result if you look. That's the philosophical sort of idea behind Schrodinger's cat. People will say that, Schrodinger's cat. You're like, what the hell? All right, now you know. Well, in law, and again, I'm putting on my lawyer hat here, you don't know whether a law is constitutional or not until it actually is tested at the Supreme Court. Now, a bit of a standoff, right? Neither side wants to know if the cat is alive or dead. Neither side wants to know if the War Powers Act is in fact constitutional or not, and why. No administration wants to be kneecapped by Congress, doesn't want to risk bringing the case and losing. And Congress doesn't want to risk bringing the case and losing because they don't want to lose this cudgel that they keep using. Both sides, by the way, this degenerate idiot Hakeem Jeffries and people like Massey and Rand Paul that also, it's not constitutional. And they almost make it sound like they're smart and like they know something. Not Hakeem Jeffries, but Massey and Rand Paul. And I have libertarian friends who go around, Sam, but Rand Paul's making an excellent, this really is unconstitutional, whatever. And you call yourself a constitutionalist. I'm just telling you what it is. It's not unconstitutional, and it's not necessarily constitute. I mean, just it exists in a sort of a suspended state. Okay, and that's the story. But Democrats will continue beating this, this thing to death because they'll continue beating the cat to death. All right, mixing my metaphors now, but they'll pursue it because they want to thwart Trump. Now, you know what? I'd like to say we have some great people on our side of the aisle, and I just got to share this with you because it made me laugh so hard 2 days ago when I saw it, and I didn't get to it yesterday. I'm going to get to today. Tim Burchett, who might be one of my absolute favorite people in Congress, got asked about Lindsey Graham. This was on Tuesday. Okay, so Tim Burchett gets asked about. I'm just going to play. I'm not going to characterize it. I'm going to let Tim Burchett speak for himself.
Senator Lindsey Graham is now calling for the U.S. to start bombing Lebanon in response to the Hezbollah IDF action.
Lindsey hadn't seen a fist fight. He hasn't wanted to turn into a bombing raid, so I just take it with a grain of salt, dude. Yes, ma'am.
Did you catch that? Because the reporter's question is slightly off mic. Senator Lindsey Graham is now calling for the U.S. to start bombing Lebanon in response to the Hezbollah IDF action. And Burchett's answer is Lindsey hasn't seen a fist fight. He hasn't wanted to turn into a bombing raid. So I'll just take it with a grain of salt, dude, and moved on to the next question. Now, I'll give you, let me tell you, first of all, it's hilarious. Second, what a dumb thing to do. I mean, imagine that we actually did that. We started to bomb Lebanon. Now is the time to build allies against a common enemy. If Trump did this, if our military actually went in and started bombing in, a country that I just mentioned to you, a big development behind the scenes is that they're finally taking a stand against Hezbollah because they sense that Iran, the patron saint, and sugar daddy of said terrorist group is, on its way out. The politicians, right, in Lebanon finally getting a spine saying, yeah, we're done with you, Hezbollah. And you in the middle of do a Lindsey Graham and start, I mean, yeah, that's neocon thinking. Again, we're back to it. But do not call Trump neocon until he does stupid stuff like Lindsey Graham suggests. The label doesn't fit. Okay? Plain and simple. So this right, of course, the thing that has to be said, and you think about this politically as we head into the midterms, one thing I will say is that the Democratic Party is very unified. And the Democratic Party works off of talking points, and they have a strong amount of discipline within their ranks to the extent that they will walk right off a cliff for Kamala Harris. But they'll stay on script. And there's always, a one or two exceptions. Most notably lately is John Fetterman from Pennsylvania. And Fetterman has been, firmly behind Trump and is bucking the party and doing his thing. So there'll be a maverick or two. But the party's unified. We Republicans, we love to, if there are 7 Republicans in the room, there are 5 opinions. And I spent a lot of time in D.C. I get to be in certain political circles, and I'll tell you that is a fact. And the thing about it is, the place that it comes from is a good place. We don't have monolithic thinking. We do question things. We do fight and debate because that's the model of our founders, right? Putting together this republic was not a clean and easy deal. And if you read about the Declaration of Independence and then the ultimate, the story of how our Constitution was written and drafted, it's deep, deep divisions that ultimately didn't get resolved really until after the Civil War. Right? If you study the subject of slavery. Now, we had and have deep divisions in our country, and It's normal. And I'm just distrustful. And I'll say this. And I've come out swinging against Megyn Kelly and against all these people, but I am also deeply distrustful, okay, of people who are like the Democrats who have no disagreements, who just all parrot the same thing, who read off the same script. And what our side, if I have a criticism of it, what our side needs to do is also understand that there's no victory in losing. Half of what you want is better than zero of what you want. And there's a great cautionary tale out of there's a great cautionary tale out of Australia. The Aussies had a center-right government that absolutely screwed them over on COVID. And the reaction was to give up and let the left have it. And the new leftist government in Australia is really one shade short of being full communist. And the country's getting destroyed. And as we head into the midterms, we've got to win. Without winning, we're nothing. Got to lock it up, folks. I guess that's why I'm so peeved with Megyn Kelly and these others. Just literally. We got to win, people. We got to unite. And why don't we unite behind the guy that wins? Like Donald Trump. Jeez Louise. All right, got to run. The What's Right Show brought to you by Salmon-Ash Injury Law. Grab the podcast, What's Right Show, wherever you get your podcast. If you have problems finding it, email me, sam@whatsrightshow.com. I'll see you tomorrow.